shift in. Hey, Walter. I know that don't sound fast, y'all, but listen, the old Road Kings, Milwaukee 8 stock Road Kings, go 1380s, 14.0s. Some people run low 13s with them, but it's pretty cool when you pick up 3 seconds in anything, a car, a motorcycle. Imagine if you had a Hayabusa, how much work it is to pick up 3 seconds. If you go 950 with it, then 850, 750, 650. 3 seconds is a lot, man. 3 seconds is a lot on a Camaro and a Mustang and a Cadillac CTSV, a Corvette, a Yamaha, a Kawasaki, or a Harley. So picking up 3 seconds is cool. I love to take one that we ran as hard as we can go and make it run the best numbers and try and run like a 1350 with it, and then bring it in and go through, put a thrasher kit, do the heads and the cam, pour it, put bigger valves, and a better throttle body and manifold, and then do a good tune with a nice pipe and pick up from 1350 to 1250, from 1250 to 1150, from 1150 to 1050. It's very cool. And then when you get one down into the 950s on all motor, that's pretty cool. Now this weekend we'll see some 850 guys, with some baggers that are going to have turbochargers on them. There's going to maybe some 8-second guys with nitrous. And it takes a lot of power. Hey, Lindsay, Walter, it's good seeing you guys, man. Yeah, I might can come see some of that stuff. But what I'm going to talk to you guys about is this a little bit of dyno information I want to share with you today. I've printed some dyno sheets, and I want to talk about how we move the power band into the curve and into the RPM range that we operate and what we want to see. So, just for an example, we got 3 cams that we sell here for the Milwaukee 8. I'm going to turn this over so we can see the table here. Hey, Clifford, Stephen, Michael. So we have the street strip cam that we like to use. That's a really cool setup. Everybody has their grind. Then we have the sort of a 3/4 race, which is sort of some street, some strip, and then we have a full race, and the full race is made for maximum effort. Now, just to draw something on the table here, let's see if I can make this work. You got a horsepower curve that looks like this. Almost all horsepower curves look like this. 52, 52, let's say it's right here. So that means that whatever the horsepower is here will also be this much torque at 52, 52. So a mathematical fact that can't be changed. Don't care if you're an engine builder under the equator, over the equator, West Coast to East Coast, Europe, Japan. Horsepower and torque will have the same numbers right here. So if you're going to make more torque early, your torque curve will look like this, and your horsepower curve could look like this. This is just an example. So your torque will be left of 52, 52, and your horsepower will be right of 52, 52. This is where horsepower is. I know this sounds very simplistic, but it's not understood by many. So if you want more torque than you want horsepower, you're going to have to do it to the left of 52. This is RPM, y'all. One more time. This is RPM. 5,252 RPM. You know where that is on your tack, right? It's a little bit past halfway on your Harley. It's right over here. Then it's got 6 and 7 and 8, maybe if you're lucky to have one that turns that high. And this over here, wherever peak torque is, that might be 3,000 RPM. And over here, I want peak horsepower over here. Maybe that's at 6,000 RPM. Well, let's say 7. Too far away from 5,200. Okay? Everybody on here so far? Peak torque over here left of 5,200 RPM, say at 3,000, just to call a number out. Horsepower peak is over here to the right of 5,200. Horsepower peak, let's say at 7,000 RPM. Now I'm going to get a dyno sheet and show you. Here's my this is our shop bike. This is a 124. It's got dish top pistons. It's a little 124 Milwaukee 8. It has a 10.5 to 1. It only makes 148 horsepower, which is really good for a 124 with 10.5 to 1. You can run this on 91 octane all day long. It's tuned up real nice with the air fuel right. I left that on there because I was pretty proud of this line. If you're not real proud of the air fuel line here, you can click on single screen and get just this screen. But if you're really happy with how cool your tune line looks, you can click at the top up here where it says dual screen, and you can get the air fuels on there. So that's, you guys at Dyno would know what I'm talking about. Yeah, but this is just a regular old small cam, like the 30-30 cam with a 124 flat top. Well, I mean dish top, so it's got low compression. But here's what my key to this one is. This is what I wanted to show you. This makes peak torque at 4,500 RPM, all right? Peak torque at 4,500 RPM. It makes peak horsepower at 5,800 RPM. Now, if you'll look, many of you guys that are really tuned up on this stuff, you'll notice that I went too far. You see 6,000 right here? I over-revved this engine on the dyno because I'm going to race it. I'm going to run this Friday and see how fast I can make it go. And I'm going to talk to you about why in a minute I revved it so high. But as you can see, from 6,000 on, I'm just falling. Look at this. I lost, how much? I don't know. I lost 5 horsepower by 6,500, and I probably lost 10 horsepower by 7,000. So you can see this is way over revved. Remember that because I'm going to talk to you about it in a minute. Now, over here, this engine has really good power way over here at 2,500. It has over 120 foot-pounds over here at 2,500. But this is just an example so I can show you a dyno sheet. Now, here is a little bit bigger engine, but this has the full race cam in it. I want you to see the difference in the power curves. All right, y'all. Come on, man. Here we go. You can see the difference in the power curves. This one is just steady going up. Doesn't start off very big, but it's steady going up. And it doesn't run out of air until 6,500 RPM. Can you see that? This full race lets us continue to build all the way up. It made peak power at 6,400, it's almost 6,500. Yeah, it says 177 horse and only 161 foot-pound. I mean, not only. That's a really good number. But this is a 133, like Boogeyman that we did for Justin Collier, where I ran in the 9s with this, foot shifting it, Milwaukee 8. And I wanted to share with you that the peak power, peak horsepower is way over here. And let's look at 5,200. Here's 5,200. This is where they make the same power. So just notice, peak torque is left of 5,200, and peak horsepower is to the right of 5,200. Even though it's really close, peak torque is at 4,900, which is right here. Peak torque is really close. But this will show you the engine's got bigger valves, bigger pipe, bigger cam, and it continues to rev at high RPM. Now this one belongs to a customer, so I can't show the name, but I want you to see this power curve. We don't care really how much power this makes to the left of this, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. Yes, when you ride on the street, see this is a full race, and look at the RPM. It is still climbing. This RPM is still going up. Now, at 5,200 RPM, you can see peak torque's over here. I think it's at 4,800, so peak torque's over here. So that's to the left of 5,200. You with me? And the peak horsepower is way to the right of 5,200. All right, does that make sense to everybody yet? All right, why is that important? Well, let's talk about that for a moment. All right, I'm gonna draw a gear chart. This is like a pro stock car. I'm gonna be pretty vague here. They put on the 2-step at the starting line. They drop the clutch. They rev up to 10,500. They shift to the next gear. They rev up to 10,500. They shift to the next gear. They shift to the next gear, rev up 10,500. They shift to the next gear, rev up 10,500, shift to the next gear, and then they go through the finish line at 10,500. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. Pro stock car is allowed a 5-speed. So this would be from the starting line to the stripe, 6.5 seconds, okay? First gear, big drop. Second gear, big drop. Third gear, big drop. Fourth gear, big drop. Fifth gear, bang, out to the finish line. Now, how does this line up with the horsepower curve on the dyno matters here, not the torque as much, because this engine, let's say that they turn this 10.5 right here. All right, and this, let's say it falls to 9,000. So there's only 1,500 RPM from here to here. Maybe this one falls to 92, maybe this one falls to 93, and maybe this one falls all the way back to 92 again. And the Pro Stock car guys, they juggle ratios like I juggle credit cards, trying to pay my bills. They change all these ratios trying to stay on the cam. And I don't know, some people call it staying on the pipe, some people call it staying on the cam. What can we learn from this? Well, in our Pro Stock motorcycle racing career, we were very fortunate to run a 6-speed, which allowed us to narrow these up to where we could get some more acceleration and stay on the pipe longer. Now, my own personal opinion about this is I would pick out where I spent the most time here. I mean, if you did an average from the starting line to the finish line, what is your average RPM? It should be somewhere right in here. That's about where you're gonna spend the most time. Well, if you shift good, that should be near your horsepower peak. That average should be near your horsepower peak. On our Harleys, it's different than a Pro Stock car, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't know the drag coefficient number of the Pro Stock cars now, but I'm going to say it's under 0.3, maybe it's 0.29 to 0.27. Drag coefficient, that means the thing is really slippery. So it can stand to fall off the cam on the shifts a little bit. Our Harleys, when we go to the drag strip, I see, like Michael Beelin's got the quickest bagger and the fastest bagger right now going. I think he went at 820 something and run a lot of 830s and 840s at 170 miles an hour with a stock 6-speed. And the 6-speed in the Milwaukee 8 has a lot of drop. It has a lot of drop. It falls. You have to go up pretty high and it falls. And you go up pretty high and it falls. You go up pretty high and it falls. Now his turbo bike, and he hadn't been in the wind tunnel, I don't think. But I know when we did with the Pro Stock motorcycle, we were like 0.58 drag, whereas the car was like 0.29. So this pushes a ton more air. So the Pro Stock motorcycle is twice as dirty as the Pro Stock car. This thing, these Pro Stock cars, when they're coming down the track, they look like a bar of soap. I mean, they really do. I mean, this thing here looks like a caboose compared to a Pro Stock car. I mean, that thing really and truly looks like a bar of soap. I mean, it is round and tapered and rounded off, and it just really goes through the air very nice. So the Pro Stock motorcycle doesn't. So we have to do a different shape on our gears, the way we shift those. And I'll do it a little smaller. Maybe I can stay on the screen this time. But we put it on 2-step. We wind up first gear, and then we come down to second. Then we wind up second, come down to third. We wind up third. We come down to fourth. We wind up fourth. We come down to fifth. We wind up fifth. We come down to sixth, and then we go out the back door. If you'll notice, the drop is, motor doesn't pull down. The engine doesn't pull down as much in each gear. And the reason that is because we're so dirty. Our aerodynamics are so dirty that we don't have enough power at this RPM to pull a dirty aerodynamic piece. We're trying to push a brick down the racetrack, whereas the Pro Stock car looks like this going down the track. And the Pro Stock motorcycle looks like this going down the racetrack. It's in comparison. I mean, that's a gross exaggeration, but it's not slippery enough to have the big drops like a Pro Stock car. I mean, they can drop this much, this much, this much, and this much. Where when they fall this far from peak, I mean from horsepower shift points, they have enough power down here because they only get 5 gears. Pro Stock cars get 5 gears. Pro Stock motorcycles get 6. Pro Stock car gets 5 gears. Pro Stock motorcycle gets 6. All right, why does this matter to you Harley guys? Wow, how does that How does that have anything to do with us? Well, when I go to the drag strip with my little 124 Friday, I'm going to turn it this far in first gear because my Harley has a 3,000 RPM drop between first and second gear. So when I shift this thing at 7,000, I'm going to fall back to 4,000. So if I shift it at peak horsepower, like at 6,000, and I fall back 3,000, I'm going to come back. What's that? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to fall to 3,000. So I only have 80 horsepower when I shift a second if I shift here. So I'm going to turn it to 7, and when I shift, I'm going to have 110 horsepower. When I shift to second gear, I'm going to drop in. Let's do this right. 3,000 RPM between first and second. I'm going to go from 7 to 4. So when I shift to second gear, I'm going to come into second gear at 110 horsepower. And if I shift it at 6,000, where peak horsepower is, see right here, peak power 5,800. If I shift here, I'm going to fall back to 6,000. 1, 2, 3. Yep. I'm going to come back to 79 horsepower. Now, let me show you how I'm going to outrun you if you come to the track with a 148 horsepower motorcycle with 149 foot-pounds of torque.